So we are inside the ComfyUI right now, and in this video we are going to see how to use ComfyUI, some tips and tricks, and we will understand what ComfyUI is, what are all these things that we see on the screen right now, and how to use it to generate our images and later on our videos. But first of all, we need to understand what is ComfyUI and how it works. So as you open ComfyUI, you will see this page, and I know that it can be a little bit scary to see all this stuff with all these lines and spaghettis right here, but when you'll understand what are those things and how they work, it is a little bit simpler than you can imagine. So this again is a workflow, and this is the basic workflow inside ComfyUI. Every single rectangle here is called a node, and you need these nodes to create in the end your images, as we saw if I upload our Crea workflow from the example before. So as you can see, this one is a little bit different, but you have all these rectangles, all these spaghetti lines, and here you will have your final image. But before we start generating images, I think that we have to understand what are those. So I will start a new workflow completely from scratch, and we will see piece by piece what are those, because when you will start using ComfyUI and start with complex workflow, if you will now understand what these nodes are, your job will be much easier, and you'll understand the dynamic and the logic behind what you're doing. And I believe that understanding the logic behind what you're doing is the key to have success using a specific tool like ComfyUI, for example. So we'll have our empty space, and we will start adding our nodes. Now, we can do it in different ways. The first one is to right-click, and as you can see, click Add Node, and here there are a lot of different options that you can go. But this is a little bit hard. So a simpler way is to double-click, and here you will search the node that you need. And as you can see, there are a lot of different things, and on the left side here, you can preview how the node is. So the first thing that you want to do is to load up a checkpoint or load up a model. So if I search for load, you have load checkpoint. So I click it here. So another way is to load a model. So I can double click, load model, and here I load diffusion model. So now I have this one, but before we need to download a checkpoint or download a diffusion model. In the case of the diffusion model, we already in the previous lesson have downloaded Flux Dev Context and Flux Crea Dev, so we already have diffusion models, but now I will need to load a checkpoint. So how to do that? To load a checkpoint, you have to download a checkpoint and insert it into your ComfyUI folder, right here in Jupyter Lab if you are running RunPod, or in your directory on your PC. So the easiest way is to download a checkpoint from a website, and Civit AI comes in our rescue, because in Civit AI you can download all the checkpoint, the workflows, the LoRa's, all you want. So here you select models in the space bar, and we go with something like realistic, for example. So if I press enter, I will see some realistic checkpoints, and as you can see, and if I click one, I can see all the info about this checkpoint. I can download it, and here the developer recommend some settings, and we'll see those settings later on. But as of now, we have to download this checkpoint. This is 2 GB, so it will take a little bit of time. I'll go ahead, I already downloaded it, and so now I will let you see how to load it inside ComfyUI. So I downloaded it. So now I have downloaded the file from Civit AI. What to do next? You'll open up your Jupyter Lab page. You will go into Comfy, Models, and here you have the checkpoints folder. But for some reason, if you double click it, it doesn't open. But this is not important. You just drag and drop your file inside the folder like I did here, and you tap upload. Now I already have done it, so if I go on terminal and I command cd checkpoints, now I am inside the checkpoint folder. If I go with ls, I can see what's inside the folder. So inside the folder there is this my checkpoint, the realistic vision checkpoint, and it's always a .savetensor file. So now I have this file inside the checkpoint, and if I refresh my ComfyUI, here on the checkpoints, if I click, I will have my realistic vision checkpoint. So this is how you can download a checkpoint from a website like CVT.ai. There is another way that you can use, and is by using the manager. So this is the first time I will show you the manager. You right click it, and we'll go into all different settings later on, but now we want to add a custom node. So custom node manager, I click it here, it is loading, and here I type cv confy, perfect, and I click install. I select the version, so the latest version is fine. Now that I've installed it, I have to restart ComfyUI in order to have this installed. So I restart, confirm, and if I go on models here, I'm restarting it, so it will take a little bit. And now that we have reopened our ComfyUI, we can see that on the left side of manager there is cvconfy. So if we click on cvconfy, we enter this page. Now, in order to make it work, we have to have the CVT.ai API key, and this is super simple to get. You will go into CVT.ai. On your profile, if you go in settings, and all the way down here, you will have API keys. So you click add API key, you get your API, you give a name to your API, so let's say Comfy, save, you get your API, and you copy and paste it inside here. As a default model for saving, I will go with checkpoints, since we are looking for checkpoints. Either way, we can change this later, so if you are trying to downloading some LoRa's, you go with LoRa's or something else. So for now, let's say checkpoints, and we save the settings. So now on the search, we can search for everything that we want to have from CVT.ai. So now I can search realistic. Here I will go with checkpoints, any base model, and based on relevancy, highest rated, most liked, and so on. I will go with highest rated, and we go with search. And as we can see, we have the realistic vision, that is the one that we've downloaded manually before. So let's say that I want to download this one. I will go with, I will select the version that I want to download and click download. Or if I want to download this one, for example, I can select the version that I want, I'll tap download, and we will go with start download. So now, as we can see, it is downloading. There are 2 GB, so it will take a little bit. Perfect, now the file is downloaded, and we have it here. So if we restart our Comfy, here we will have our new checkpoint that we have downloaded, as you can see. So now finally we have understood how to download a checkpoint, and now we can move on to the rest of the tutorial. So as you can see, I'll zoom it out really well here. Here you can or click it directly and you select, or use the arrows, same as here. You click it, okay. So now that we have downloaded our checkpoints, we can start creating our workflow. And I will start with the checkpoints, and then later we will go with the diffusion models. But for now, let's remove this one. I will show you later. Now, what we have to do is to create another node. And in this case, we want to have our checkpoint. And in this case, we want to have our prompt node. So again, there are a couple of ways. So the right click, add a node, and you'll search manually, but this is a pain. So double click, and we have clip text encode prompt. So we can go this way. Or another way is from clip, we drag and drop our spaghetti, and we have clip text encode. This is our prompt box. But now I want to change it a little bit to make it easier to understand. So I right click, change the title, and here we go in positive. Right click again, colors and green. This is just because I like to have different colors and it is simpler for the eye to understand what we are doing. And now I want also a negative prompt. So I can go different ways. I can do it like before, so with double click, clip text encode, and have it right here. I can drag and drop a line of spaghetti, or I even can right click and clone. So I'll have it here. There are different ways. So I will drag and drop the spaghetti here. And this time I'll change the title to negative, and I'll change the color to red. So this is super easy to see. The green one is our positive prompt, and the red one is our negative prompt. Now, next line. Again, we can drag and drop or double click. I'll drag and drop. And here we need to add a KSampler. Now, what is a KSampler? A KSampler is basically the algorithm that our model will use to generate our image. Now, let's take a look really quickly on how an AI create an image to understand better all this process. So an AI will start with a random noise. So as you can see here, random noise. It will use an algorithm to denoise this image, so remove the noise of the image based on the prompt that you gave, and it will generate your image in different steps. So for every step, a little bit of the noise is removed, as you can see, and in the end, you will have your image. This is basically how an AI image generator works. You have random noise based on a prompt. The algorithm will remove the noise and create your images. So the KSampler is a key to do that. Now we have drag and dropped the spaghetti from conditioning here to positive, and we also have to do it with the negative, as you can see here. Now let's take a moment to look at all these variants in the KSampler. We have the seed and the control after generate. The seed is like in any other image generator, is a random value that is the starting point of our image. So if we keep it randomized, it will generate a completely random pic. If we set a specific seed, we will recreate the image with that specific seed. So for now, we'll keep it randomized, of course. The number of steps are, as we saw in the example, the number of steps that it will take to generate our image. So the lower the number of steps are, the lower is the noise reduction. But if we go too much higher on the number of steps, the algorithm will create some hallucination, so our image won't turn out this good as we want to. So in general, we keep it from 20 to 30, 40 steps. This is the optimal and sweet spot. The CFG is basically the creativity that you allow to the algorithm. So if you set the CFG to, let's say, 1 or 2, the system will have a lot of creativity and do whatever it wants. If we go 20, for example, it will follow your prompt to the letter. And sometimes we don't want to follow exactly the prompt. We want to allow a little bit of creativity to the model. So a sweet spot is 7 or 8 as a value for the CFG. So the CFG is the creativity. And you decide how much creative you want your algorithm. The sampler name is basically the algorithm that remove the noise. And there are different ones. Euler is one of the most famous. DPM, DPMPP2M. I mean, these are there are a lot of different sample name, and usually when you download a checkpoint or an entire workflow from CVTI, the creator of the workflow or the checkpoint will tell you which sampler name to use. So make sure that you read the description of what you are downloading, so that you have the sampler name and also the scheduler. And the scheduler is for the quality of the image. Like usually it will go with simple or with Karras, but again, follow the direction that who gave you the checkpoint gave you. And the denoise. So the denoise is the amount of noise that we want to remove. Of course, if we set it at 1, is 100%, so we want to remove 100% of this noise. But there are cases maybe when you are when your starting point maybe is another image, so you are already here, you want to denoise just 20% of the image, for example. And so we will set up the denoise here. So now we have seen all these different control. And now it's time to move on. The next step we want to make is to drag and drop here from model to model. Perfect. Now that we have drag and drop our model, another thing that I like to do is to give it a color, so a blue for the KSampler, and last things is latent image. We have to drag and drop our spaghetti here and select empty latent image. Again, we'll give it a color. I will give it a purple. So what it is an empty latent image? The empty latent image is basically this. Is the first step, your full of noise Canva. So we have it here, as you can see. All the things that we do will go from left to right. So from here, we are in this part of the image. We move on, we go to the KSampler, and the KSampler is what we need to move on from here to here, okay? So our empty latent image is this stage of our creation, is like a Canva full of noise. And from here, we can decide the width and the height of our images in pixel. Usually we will go with 1024 for 1024. And we can also select the batch size. So if we want to generate 1 image, 2 images, 3 images, 4 images, and so on. So for now, let's say 2 images. So now we want to move on to the right, and from here, latent, we'll drag and drop our spaghetti, and we'll select VAE Decode. This is the decoder that decodes all of this into our image. But before we go into our image, we have to drag and drop our spaghetti from here, VAE, to here. Perfect. Now, the last step is to have our image. So I'll drag and drop, and here we can go with preview image or save image. I will go with preview, so that, and I will expand this so we can preview our image. And even here, we'll color this is brown, and our image is pale blue. Perfect. So now everything have a different color, and I like this because it's visually more simpler to understand. So again, the VAE decoder will decode all of these into our image, and I will select preview images because if the generation is bad, or if I want to change something, I don't want my storage to fill up with a lot of images that are not good. I just want to save the good images. So I will preview it, and later on, if I like it, I will save it. So now let's try the model to see if everything is working. So I will enter just a simple prompt, a red-haired girl, and in the negative, I just say anime. I don't want an anime, I want a realistic girl. And now I will click run. Here we can go with different things. So we can run and it will generate our image. We can run instant, so it will constantly generate images after image after image, and run on change. Every time I change the prompt, it will generate an image. So for now, let's just click run and see if everything works good. Perfect, and as you can see, we have our two images. So the first one is this, and the second one is this one. So of course, the model here, the checkpoint, and the model is pretty basic, so we have to fine tune it to have a serious image, but as you can see, it works. So if we want to save it, we will go with save image, and it will save our image. If we want to save even this one, we will go with save image. And this is your super basic workflow in ComfyUI. So now you understand what the loading part is, the prompting, what is a KSampler, so our algorithm, and how every single one of these works, what is our latent image, our VAE Decode, and our preview image. So if we load our Kria workflow, you will see we have our loading, our prompting, positive and negative, the KSampler, that in this case is down here, our latent image, our VAE Decode, and our save image. In this case, it will save it automatically. So now that we know how it works, we can remove the save image, click it, double click it, and go with preview image, drag and drop it here, and now we have our preview right here. And if we click run, perfect, now it generates our images, and we can preview our image. If we like it, we can right click and save our image. Now what if instead of loading a checkpoint, we want directly to load a model? So I can go here, double click, load model, load diffusion model. Since we have already a Flux dev context or a Flux Kria models. Now we don't have the clip and we don't have the VAE. So what we have to do is to load the clip and load the VAE. So load clip here, and since we are using Flux, I will go with Flux. Here clip 1, and here we will go with the second one, okay? And default. So we have our clip, we have our model. What we miss? We miss to load a VAE. Load VAE. Perfect. Now it's the same as before. We'll drag and drop a clip, 1 and 2. This one will become our positive, and we'll make it green. And this one will become our negative, and we'll make it red. So perfect and perfect. Now, what we have to do now? We'll drag from conditioning into a KSampler, the positive and the negative. We'll drag and drop the model from diffusion model to KSampler. We add our latent image. We will go with 1024, of course. We will make it purple, as I like. Perfect. We'll make this one a nice blue. We have a random seed, 20 steps, or we can even go with 30 if we want to, and 8. Euler, simple, and the noise 1. We can also use Karras. So these are connected. from Latent, we go with VAE Decode, and from load VAE, we'll drag and drop a spaghetti to VAE image, and we go with preview image. So I will resize this so we can preview our image. And now we can enter our prompt, super simple. Perfect. And now we run it. So as you can see, the end result of this generation is not a super great image, but because this one is a very, very simple workflow that I create in just 1 minute. Of course, if we want to have something more fine-tuned, we have to add a little bit of things or use the pre-made one and add our things. But this is just to show you how a super simple workflow works and our ComfyUI works. Now, let's see another few little things. So if we go down here where the zoom controls are, we can show the minimap that will let you know where exactly you are in your workflow. And this is useful if you have a giant workflow and you need help to navigate your workflow. Another great thing about Comfy is that you can import all the workflow that you want. So I already downloaded one to let you see. And when you import a new workflow, it will tell you that some nodes are missing, and it will let you know all the nodes that are missing. Now, what you want to do here is, so if you close and we see this is a giant workflow, okay, just to let you see. In the red, there are the nodes that we are missing. So, of course, we can't use this super giant workflow because it's almost all red. So we miss a lot of different nodes to make this work. So what we can do, when you import a workflow and you have missing nodes, you go into Manager, install missing custom nodes, and automatically the manager, okay, we will let you know what are the nodes that you are missing, and you can install them. So every time that you install a node, you can install all of them and then refresh your ComfyUI, and the nodes will be installed into your ComfyUI. This is a super great thing because you can just have an entire workflow you downloaded, you paste it into your ComfyUI, you install your missing node, and you can use the workflow with this. Another thing, sometimes maybe you install a workflow that is super new and you need to update your ComfyUI. So here you can tap to update ComfyUI and it will update it. You can decide to update also, update both ComfyUI and all your nodes, or you can also switch version of Comfy because maybe you need an older version to run properly and all the workflow, so you can go with an older version of ComfyUI. So here we see that our Comfy is updated. And of course, every time you install a different custom node, every time you update your Comfy and so on, you will have to restart your ComfyUI so that the update will be implemented. But this is very scary to see. I know that this is very scary to see, but it is a little bit simpler than it looks. So these are the basic things that you need to know to run properly ComfyUI and to start generating your images with ComfyUI. Later on in another video, we will see more stuff and we will perfection our image generation. So I'll see you in the next video.